Okay, we're recording. Oh, nice. Hi, welcome. We just want to ask for the chat if you could submit your major, your year, and whether you live uptown or downtown, and downtown's 1st to 7th and uptown's 8th to 14th. Okay, I'll just get started. So the first section we're talking about is identifying what flavors and types of drinks everyone likes the best. So first, let's start with like fall. Does anyone like seasonal flavors, either things like pumpkin or more towards the winter, like peppermint flavors for their coffee drinks?
I love a good pumpkin.
Pumpkin? What
Yeah.
kind of, like pumpkin iced or hot, or what do you usually like?
I mean, I'm a cold brew guy, so like iced.
I usually just stick to like my usuals, what I like. I don't usually go off just based on seasonal stuff.
Mhm.
I also don't go off based off of seasonal stuff either.
I love like pumpkin.
Anyone?
Sorry.
You're good.
I love like pumpkin cold brew in the fall. And then when it gets to be like winter, I love the Irish cream. Cold brew. I'm more of a Starbucks girl. So
Yeah,
those are-
a lot of the chains typically have like the seasonal flavors the most. So then going off of like flavors, does anyone like other like pumps of flavors like caramel, like French vanilla, hazelnut, things like that?
Yeah, I like all of
yeah.
the ones you just said, especially French vanilla and caramel.
Yeah, caramel's a big one for me.
I actually
either-
don't. Wait, sorry. I actually don't. I only like pumpkin, or I'll just do like a black cold brew.
I usually get either like caramel or or lavender, which either one.
Yeah, I only drink my coffee black, so I'm kind of bored.
Yeah, I also don't add any flavors into mine.
What about caffeinated or decaf? Or it depends on the time.
Definitely caffeinated.
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 Okay, good. So all college students were drinking caffeinated. And then I know some people already said they like their coffee black, but does anyone add anything like sugars or creamers or like milk or any like dairy alternatives?
I usually just get oat milk. I don't usually add sugar.
Yes,
I do
I like a
almond
good
milk.
oat milk.
Yeah, oat milk also.
So a lot of oat milk. Anyone get like whole milk or half and half or soy? I see in the chat. Yeah. There's also coconut milk. I know that's a lesser known one. What about like lattes or espressos?
I usually just get oat milk.
I like a good iced latte. I like it pretty milky.
All right, that was kind of it. If anyone has anything to add for the coffee flavor section. Next, we're going to talk about the particular types of shops people go to. So first is kind of what your guys' opinions are, what draws you to a certain coffee shop or cafe, or like what about it draws you there, either like the coffee, the aesthetic, atmosphere, those type of things.
I go to mostly, it's called the Hive. It's on 10th and Park just because it's just so close to me and I can get it on the way to class pretty much every day. That's pretty much the only reason why, if it's close to me and if I like the coffee, which I do, I'll pretty much that'll be my regular place.
So like
Yeah.
location and the taste.
I'm the same way. I go to Jefferson's because I live on 7th and it's just really close.
Yeah, for me, I go to Empire because it's close to me. I'm on 4th.
Hey Terrence, we should go to Empire sometime.
Yeah, Ryan, I'm down.
Yeah.
Okay, going off of that, like what influences you to pick a certain spot? Is it like that, like a friend recommendation, or you just like were walking by kind of like the first time you moved in and realized like, oh, like that's a close coffee shop?
With Hoboken specifically, I feel like to me the ambiance is pretty important, especially if it's a coffee shop that I could foresee myself like sitting down and doing my work. I want it to be somewhere that's like not too loud but has a good aesthetic and good coffee as well.
I don't usually mind how like loud a place is where I'm working, especially if I'm like using my headphones for something. I'm more of a if it literally just has seats and I can sit and do my work, I don't have a preference on what the environment is like.
Yeah, I feel like for me, I really like going to Gregory's to go work because they have a much bigger like seating area. I don't like going to like smaller coffee shops just because there isn't as much space and it just feels like tight and like Jefferson's, for example.
So I know in the chat, Emma was saying usually when she goes to meet with people for coffee, she finds different places from there. So we haven't talked about this yet, but do people like to go to coffee shops to meet people, like to do work or to hang out with friends, or did people enjoy more like solitude going there for work?
I like to invite my friends to hang, like to like do work and stuff. Depending on like who I'm asking, we kind of pick a place that like is meet in the middle sort of. So people don't usually come to the Hive with me just to do work because it's kind of far from them. So we either go to like Jefferson's or Bway or somewhere a little closer.
Yeah, I'm more about just like going to get the coffee, like not really hanging out doing work there. But so I guess more for just the whether or not I like the coffee.
Yeah,
Yeah,
same
for-
with me. I'll just go pick it up on my way to class or on my way home from somewhere. I won't really hang out there.
I did the same thing.
For me, I find that if I'm going to like do work with a purpose, I like to be by myself because I feel more productive. But if I'm like going on a walk with friends, sometimes we'll plan to get coffee.
So both a mix of like social aspect and then also more like doing work and convenience. So then going off of that, do people rather the familiarity of a place and like the convenience of a steady coffee shop that you always know like your go-to order, or do you rather explore new places?
I think when I lived closer on like campus, I was more of a let's explore and do things and like see what I like because every place was pretty much the same distance from each other. But now that I'm further from campus and it's like a longer walk to school, I just want to get my coffee as soon as possible. And like I've kind of become like a regular at Hive, like they know what I get and everyone knows what I want. So that's pretty much what I look for.
Yeah, I like to try new things at like one certain coffee shop. Like at Empire, I've been trying a bunch of different flavors and their special funky lattes too.
So like a coffee shop that you like and you know like their stuff is good, you like to explore different flavors from there.
Yeah.
Another like going off of that, does anyone take price into consideration from the different shops?
I should, but I don't.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Unfortunately, no.
I kind of do. Like Jefferson's has a discount. I could go to like a different coffee shop, but I mean, it's convenient for Steven students.
Yeah, for me, I always just get black coffee. So for me, price isn't that big of a deal. So I don't usually have like an issue with price.
And then what times of day, like of the day, do people typically go? Either in the morning, afternoon, twice a day, once?
I don't go every single day just to like try and save my money a little bit. But when I do go, it's usually always just once in my day, unless I'm like super tired. And I, depending on what class I have, it's either around like 10:15 or like earlier, like 9 a.m.
I see Emma said in the chat 8 to 10, like in the morning, a few times a week. So we could talk about the frequency, like how many times a week people go. And if it changes depending on if it's a weekday or a weekend.
I mean, I go every single day regardless.
Yeah, same here.
I see in the okay, so every day I see in the chat 3 to 4.
Yeah, me too. Like every day. Not during the weekdays. Not so much during the weekends though.
So when you go, a lot of people who said they go pretty frequently or every day, is it just part of your everyday routine? Like, would it feel weird to not go?
I mean, it would kind of suck to not have coffee because I'm dependent on it. But other than that, I don't think it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's more of the whole keeping me awake thing.
Yeah, if I don't go to my shop, I'll just go home and make some, honestly, if I really need it.
So more about like the frequency of going to shops. Does it depend on the season? For instance, in September, are you going to shops more often because it's nicer out and warmer and easier to go, as opposed to the winter if it's snowing or colder?
I feel like weather doesn't have much of a bearing on me because, like, if it's cold, I'll just get a hot coffee, and if it's warm, I'll get an iced coffee.
As going off of that, does anyone have like their go-to order changes from the season?
No, I absolutely hate hot coffee. So I always get iced even when it's like super cold outside.
Yeah,
I
I'm the
agree.
same way.
Same.
So the
I get
season doesn't
iced
have
more
much.
than hot. Sorry.
Oh, you're good.
I get
I-
iced way more frequently than hot, but every once in a while, I'll get a hot coffee.
Speaking of like seasons in the summertime, does anyone get different like ice drinks that aren't coffee from like cafes and coffee places? Different like refreshers in the summer?
Yeah.
If I'm going to like Starbucks or something, I might get like a pink drink or like a refresher, but at any other coffee shop, I usually only ever get coffee.
Sometimes if they have like yerba mate, I'll get that, but only because of the amount of caffeine.
I get refreshers or like a cold brew. It honestly just depends on like my mood and what I really feel like. There's no really reason for it, but
Would you go to like a certain coffee shop um if you're not looking to get coffee, or if you're looking to get like food with it too? Like if they does one coffee shop sell more items, so like you would go there?
I usually
Yeah, like sometimes.
sorry.
Sorry.
I usually
I'll go quick.
never get-
Sorry. I was just gonna say.
Your Wi-Fi might be bad. Your mic's going robot mode.
Sweet, sorry, can you?
It just cut
Kind of.
again, Faye.
I'm sorry. I was just gonna say I like to go to Starbucks when I'm trying to get food because I like their like breakfast sandwiches.
I agree with that also.
I usually never get food unless it's like Starbucks, just because they have more like lunch like options than other coffee shops.
Yeah, I mostly just stick to coffee when I go to a coffee shop.
I don't ever get food when I go.
I'll sometimes get food if it's the morning and at Starbucks, but later on, like in the day, if I go like middle of the afternoon, I won't.
When people go, if it's your second time, like going for the day in the afternoon, does that have any bearing on what kind of drink you get?
I pretty much just get whenever I'm in the mood for when I go. Time of day doesn't really change anything.
So going back to what we were talking about before about Starbucks, um, is the real draw to Starbucks, is it because it also serves food that you like, or just because you like the coffee regardless of the food?
I usually don't go to Starbucks, but like if I do, it's also because it's convenient to order on their app and you get rewards and stuff.
Yeah, I say if I just want like a normal coffee every day, I'd go to like Empire 'cause it's easy and coffee. But if I want like a special drink, I'll go to Starbucks.
I only ever go to Starbucks if I'm like craving like a refresher or something, because it's like the only place where you can get them. But I don't usually, I wouldn't pick Starbucks over the place right next to me.
So talking a little bit about what Jake mentioned with paying with the app, when everyone gets coffee, what's their preferred form of payment? Do you usually like to pay with cash, card, if the shop offers Venmo, or if it's a chain and it has an app?
I think the app is like really convenient, especially if you're going like before class, because you never know if there's going to be a long line or something. So I always order it and then walk over, and it's usually ready, which is really convenient.
I usually use card or an app if I'm like ordering at a place that has like order ahead.
I just do Apple Pay.
Yeah, I see in the chat also some other people say Apple Pay. Just a follow-up question on that. Does if a coffee shop has a personalized app, does that draw you more towards the place? For instance, you would be driven more to go to Starbucks because they have a personalized app with a profile and all your order history, as opposed to like a mom and pop shop.
Just
No.
because, like,
Oh,
sorry. Just
You're
because of
good.
the location, like if Starbucks was a lot closer to me, I think I would maybe pick it over something else just because it's convenient and the rewards. But since I have more options that are closer to me, it's not as like I don't choose it.
I kind of like the feel of like a smaller place, even though it might not be as convenient with the app, just because like they know you there and it's just like, I don't know, more comfortable.
I like that point, Jake, about comfortability. We could talk a little bit about that. Like part of the appeal of going to a particular place that's like your go-to place is that sometimes the workers there, they know you and you know like the environment. Does anyone feel more drawn to a place just because of comfortability in the atmosphere of the coffee shop?
I mean, I know the barista at Jefferson's and she knows my order, so that's why I usually go there.
The workers at the Hive are all really nice, and they learn what you usually get really fast. And I also have a friend that started working there recently, so it makes it like a little more fun to like go and see my friend if they're working.
I really like Empire because they're always playing like good music in there. And then I'll walk in like in the morning and I'll be like, oh, this is fun. And it's like a good way to like start my day. They're also really nice in there too.
So part of what Terrence was saying was like that it boosts her mood. Is that something that comes with going to coffee shops in the morning? It's part of your morning routine. Does anyone think it helps boost their mood for the day?
Yeah, I definitely do.
A lot of my like if I oversleep in the morning, I might not go and get coffee just because I won't have time. And then that will make me less looking forward to class because I won't have anything to wake me up. So being able to get coffee does make me feel better in the morning.
So when another thing we could shift to talking about some attitudes and behaviors around coffee and coffee culture. We were talking about it a bit before, but kind of what's more important about drinking coffee? Is it like the necessity of how it makes your body function, the pleasure of like having that piece of like enjoying going to a coffee shop in the morning, or maybe the taste or the perception or appearance of holding a coffee?
For me, I think it's a combination of all of those things. It kind of started as more of like an aesthetic and like, you know, go do your work in the coffee shop kind of thing. But now I feel like my body really depends on it. So it's kind of everything.
My
Yeah,
body, sorry.
No, it's okay. I just also need the caffeine. So like, yeah, getting coffee is important for me. Or just having coffee in general.
I know my body definitely needs caffeine, even if sometimes like it doesn't give me the best side effects. So just like I mostly focus on like knowing it'll wake me up and that it tastes good.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm definitely dependent on it. And I'm also very ritualistic. Like I do the same thing every day. So it's just like my routine.
Personally, I don't have it every day. It's more just one, if I have like a lot of stuff to do, I'll just want the extra caffeine, or two, just if I'm like craving like the coffee or refresher itself.
So going off of that, for the people who do go very frequently, 5 or 7 times a week, like 5 to 7 times a week, how many of those times is it typically you're going to the same place, or do you purposely change it up one of those times or 2 of the times?
On weekdays, I go to the same place, but on weekends, then I'll like try a different one. But like weekdays, it's just the closest. I don't have that much time.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like the convenience is a big factor during the week with everything going on, but on the weekend I have more time.
I always just choose Starbucks.
So going back to talking about Starbucks and like using apps, I know we haven't mentioned Dunkin' yet. Does anyone go to Dunkin' typically? Because it is on 7th, it is close to campus.
I'll go to Dunkin' because I live close to there, so it's easy. And I also like their iced coffees. I don't usually like any other drinks from there. Like if I'm getting a refresher, I'll prefer Starbucks or trying a local coffee shop for like an iced tea. But Starbucks, or rather Dunkin', for the actual iced coffee, I prefer.
I only get Dunkin' back at home because I think like whoever makes it at back at home makes it so much better than in Hoboken, and it's also just further away. So I don't really feel like I need to go there when I'm here.
I live closer to Dunkin' than Jefferson's, but I think what makes me go to Jefferson's is again like that personal feeling. And I also just like the taste of the coffee better at Jefferson's.
I used to go to Dunkin' all the time when I lived closer to it. Like I was a big Dunkin' girl, but now I'm like closer to Empire, and Dunkin's like not on the way to class anymore. So I don't go to Dunkin'. But if I lived closer, I think I'd still prefer Dunkin' over Empire. But just because it's so much closer, I go to Empire now.
Yeah, I'm personally not a big Dunkin' Donuts fan, so I feel like the only time I would go there is out of pure convenience and the fact that it's still caffeine.
So like some of the things I'm hearing about, like what's more important is either it depends on the person, but it could be convenience or personalization of a local shop or familiarity. Not as much price point I didn't hear. And anyone has any comments on that.
I mean, I will say Dunkin' is like just barely cheaper than Jefferson's with the discount. So I would rather just go to Jefferson's. It's like maybe 20 cents.
Mhm. So about some of the things with the price point, with some of the chains, they do have like rewards and point system. Does that have any bearing on your decision to go there? Or influence you to want to go to that shop more because you have a free drink or a coupon?
I'd say that's definitely an incentive, but more than that, thinking about Starbucks, I like that like the payment is right on my phone. It's really easy and I know how to use it. So I feel like less about the actual price and more about the convenience again.
Yeah, no, I don't think I like actively look at the discounts and all, but I think it's just like a nice treat when you get that free coffee.
Yeah, I'm mostly about just like convenience. I like to be able to get my coffee as quick as possible if I can. And whether or not that place does like reward systems doesn't really have an effect on me.
And one of the points that we didn't talk about yet with convenience is a lot of people mentioned that they really like to go to a spot that's close to their apartment or near classes. Do people like to go out of your apartment on the way to class, or do you like to pick it up near your apartment, go back home, enjoy your coffee, do whatever your routine is? Yeah, I'm just kind of asking if you get it on the way to class or work, or if you get it and go back home.
I only ever get it on the way.
On the weekdays, I get it on the way to class for sure.
It really depends for me, like my schedule and how much time I have.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer like to get it on my way, but if I don't have time, I'll just be looking forward to getting it after.
Yeah, I honestly like might not go in the morning, but if that's the case, then I might use like my lunch break for it.
Yeah, I usually get it on the way to class too.
Yeah, I see people in the chat are also saying, Sean in the chat said on the way to class or to kill time between classes. Another point that we haven't touched on yet, typically when you go into a coffee shop, do you intend on just having the mindset of getting your coffee and go, or do you like to chat with the barista or other customers in there? Or if you run into a friend, do you have conversations with them?
I think it'll depend on like what I'm going there for specifically. If it's something like Dunkin' or Starbucks, I'm usually in and out, especially if I order it in advance, because that allows me to just take my coffee and go. But of course, if I run into somebody, like I will talk to them. I usually just don't come in with the intention of doing that.
The workers at the Hive are all really nice and friendly, so you're kind of like bound to have a little mini conversation with them while they're making your coffee, which doesn't really affect how quick you get your coffee.
I usually just go to get the coffee, and if I see someone or have a conversation, it's like an added bonus.
One of the things that might impact this is like if you're wearing headphones, do people typically like to listen to music or podcasts when they're like going to pick up their coffee, or do you like to just observe and not have music playing?
I usually take mine out when I walk in, just in case I want to like talk to someone.
I usually would listen to music on the way there, but since I've lost my earbuds recently, I just kind of listen to whatever's in the store at the time.
I see another repeated sentiment of earphones on the way, but then take them out when they enter the shop. So going back to going to coffee shops for more of a social aspect when you're meeting people? Does anyone like to meet people in more of a social setting for coffee, or do you like to meet with coworkers or classmates to do work or study?
I usually meet with friends to do homework with them. I feel like it's more productive when you're not like by yourself or like sitting at home trying to study and do homework, even if you're not really doing something for the same class.
I'm
I
kind of the
actually-
opposite.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry, you can go.
No, I was gonna say the same thing as you, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I just go to socialize, if anything, like if I'm meeting with someone, but I can't really focus in a setting like that.
I kind of like the coffee shop setting to study because like the people around you are usually all working, so that kind of makes me more motivated to work too.
I just got a little too distracted and I end up like people watching instead. So I usually go for social purposes.
I see in the chat also social only. For me, library, go to the friends to work. One of the other things right now is like it's warm out still and it's nice. Some of the local shops have seating outside and inside. Does anyone have a preference of whether they like to sit outside or inside the shop?
I usually like to be inside, if anything, just because I also care about the aesthetic a little bit and it just feels nice.
If it's a nice day, like if the sun is out, I like being outside, but just depending on like circumstances, I may want to sit inside instead.
I'd say inside because it's generally more like climate controlled. So if it's too hot outside, there's usually AC or vice versa.
Okay, and then one of the other things I wanted to go back to when we were talking about choosing coffee shops, a lot of it was convenience, but if we could like think back to before you lived, before when you first moved into your apartment or you first moved into Hoboken, how you found the shops that you go to now, if it was a friend recommendation or you saw like an ad online or you just passed it or maybe looked it up.
For the one I go to now, I found it the day that I was moving all my stuff in. Since it was on the same street, I was like, oh, I definitely need to try that once school starts because it's so close by. And thankfully, I like the coffee a lot, so then it stuck with me.
I passed by the coffee shop when I first like noticed it, and then I think a friend told me about the Stevens discount, so that kind of like made me like stay with it.
Jake, so how much is the Stevens discount and how much does it like change the price for you?
I think it's like 10-15%, but also the barista knows me and never charges me for oat milk, so it's a little bit more for me.
Has anyone, just going back to coffee places, I was just gonna like try to name a few ones that maybe we haven't talked about yet. Does anyone go to Way for coffee?
Play is a usual pick for some of my friends to study in. I've been there.
Sorry, how do you spell that?
It's like it's BWE with a little accent.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks.
I've never been there personally.
It's pretty good.
Has anyone tried like coffee at some of the more cafe places like Toasty or the Turning Point? The Turning Point's all the way on 14th, but that's like a restaurant and they also have a coffee shop, and then Toasty's like a restaurant, but you can get coffee too.
This isn't.
Sorry.
No,
I've
it's okay.
gotten lunch at Toasty.
I really like I mean, this is not coffee, but Bluestone Lane has really good chai tea lattes. But I'll go there sometimes.
I agree. I'm a fan of Bluestone Lane. Also, I used to really like Hudson Coffee, but then they like spontaneously closed down, so that was disappointing.
Anyone go to Hidden Grounds? It's over on like 7th.
I've
yeah.
been there a few times, but it's not my favorite place.
Okay, and then I just want to like finish out with just talking about the overall motivation for why everyone drinks coffee. So if everyone could just share like their biggest motivator. Some of like the things that we talked about was like um, the aesthetic of having coffee, what it does for your body, like waking you up, the ritualistic aspect of it, of pick me up, like a mood booster, an exciting new experience, or meeting friends. Those were kind of the general themes that were going on.
Also, the taste. Like, I just love
yeah.
drinking coffee. It just tastes good too.
So Terrence says the taste.
I guess I would say it's a mood booster, but it's because I like the taste and because I'm ritualistic.
Kira says it helps her wakes her up, some routine, something yummy. Oh yeah, it's one of the other points we didn't mention. We're talking about Pierce Cafe. That's one of the other, if you're on campus, going to the on-campus locations.
If I do get the school coffee, I usually just get it with like a snack swipe, just like the cheap, mostly because I didn't have time to go in the morning and I need something before my next class.
Yeah, I think freshman year, if I was like running late to class and I wanted to use like a meal swipe, I went to Red and Gray a lot because that was like right by where all the classes were.
Okay, so then just, oh wait, Sean said something. Started as wine to help me wake up and the taste. Now it's a caffeine dependency. Yeah, does anyone have anything else to add about specifically like their motivation for going to get coffee? And it could be like the same thing that someone else said. They're common themes for a reason.
Mine's just really if I need the caffeine, like, and I have a lot to do, or just for the taste.
Nice. Okay, thank you everyone. Does anyone else have any final thoughts? No? Okay, that was it. I just wanted to make sure we have everyone's like information in the chat. If you entered it at the beginning, then we have it, but it's just your major, your year, and whether you live uptown or downtown. And we said downtown was 1st to 7th and uptown was 8th to 14th. Give a minute for that, or any final comments. Thank you everyone for coming. We really appreciate it.
Bye.
All right, yeah, you guys are free to go. Thanks for everything. Bye.
Bye, thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody. Appreciate it. All right, I took hella notes, so I think we should be good.
Yeah, I was just reading your notes as it was going. It looked good. How were you organizing it?
I mostly organized it by person. So like I just have like everything Kira said under like a tab and everything Jake said under a tab, stuff like that.
That was a really good idea. I'm glad that was your method. I didn't even think of that.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, because then we get like a profile on everyone. That was great. That was good.
Yeah, that went well.
We could just like check in the group chat again about when we'll meet to review this.
We should